Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Great Scott! There's no crying in baseball!
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
This is where the fun begins.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That's right. We're ranking 28 Years Later. 28 Years Later is a 2025 post-apocalyptic coming-of-age horror film. It is the third film in the 28 Days Later film series. In the film, a boy living in a post-apocalyptic world undertakes a hazardous journey with his ill mother in an effort to obtain medical treatment for her. So this is my second time. I am a huge zombie movie fan. I really enjoy the idea of zombies. So I had actually watched this movie when it came out like almost a year ago. I did rewatch it for this because obviously that was a fairly long time ago. And when it first came out, I did not like it very much. I didn't think it was very good. I think part of that is probably just expectations. It's definitely that the franchise has always been a little bit different as far as zombies. It's not necessarily zombies. It is, but it isn't. We throw it in there. It's zombies. I mean, let's be real. It's zombies. However, it's kind of got this unique approach. So I think part of that is why I didn't necessarily enjoy it on the first time. I will say on the second time, I enjoyed it a little bit more. I think that's because I knew what was coming and was kind of prepared for it and okay with it. I definitely enjoyed it a little bit more. But there are some things I still did not like, but there's some things I appreciate a little bit more. Let's talk about it with the 10 essential aspects of a movie. First is plot. Does the movie follow a comprehensive story arc and is plausible within the world that has been created? Obviously, this is the third movie. You have 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later, and now 28 Years Later. I will say, whenever we're talking about multiple movies, I like to ask the question, did it make sense to make this movie? Did you need to make this movie? Did you have enough to add to this story or world to warrant making another movie? Or are you just trying to capitalize on a popular franchise and make money? I would say it makes sense. This movie has a really strong foundation and plot. The idea of 28 years later on its own is very unique to the zombie franchise. I've watched a lot of zombie movies. I really enjoy the genre, and they are never decades after. They are almost always, the outbreak is just now occurring or we're right close to it. We're 6 months, a year, maybe 2 years. A lot of movies take place in that time frame, but 28 years later as a zombie movie is very interesting. It's a concept that has not really been done that I'm aware of. Now, that being said, 28 weeks later, the ending of that movie, they kind of just took that and threw that out the window. It's definitely not canon to this ever-going story. I think if you've watched it, you know, and you kind of watch the beginning and you're like, well, what about the ending of the last movie? And they don't necessarily talk about it, but you kind of, from the beginning, you're like, oh, okay, that didn't happen. We're gonna forget about that. Honestly, I don't mind. It's a zombie franchise. It's not, Dune or Star Wars where it has this huge fan base that's gonna pick apart every little detail. It's just zombie movies. So do I care? Not really. Don't mind. If you want to throw out the second one's ending, then that's fine with me. Now, they did make this movie, and as far as I'm aware, by the time this movie came out, they had already filmed and were editing the next movie after this one, Bone Temple. So they had planned on the 2 movies already and making it 4 total movies. I don't really love that. Sometimes it's a good idea. I would say you take a franchise like Back to the Future, and I think it was a great idea. I'm glad that they made both movies at the same time because you could reference each other. We'll see how that goes for this series, but I do think that this movie's plot kind of falls into that problem of being somewhat of a middle movie, a transition movie. That you take, normally, you have a trilogy, and you'll have that first movie where it introduces the characters and the world and a villain, and it's all really good and entertaining, and it's the start. So it has to start off well, and most of the times it will start off well, and the first movie might be your favorite movie. However, the third movie will be the final act, and will have the most impact, the most emotional impact, the most action, usually, the most interesting, your main villain, the most interesting fight, the fight that makes sense over the 3 total movie, so that one is interesting in its own right. But then you have this second movie, and I think a lot of trilogies struggle with that middle movie because it's a transition movie. It doesn't have the beginning fun, it doesn't have the end fun. It just kind of has this moving the plot forward a little bit idea that they try and throw some other ideas to make it entertaining, but really just trying to focus on moving the plot and preparing for this big final act. That causes a lot of problems. I hate that. I like when movies can be trilogies and each movie stands on its own two legs. It doesn't need the other movies. It's a good movie. It has a great villain or character arc or whatever. It can stand on its own. Most movie franchises really struggle with that middle movie syndrome, not moving the plot forward enough and not being interesting enough. I think that this movie kind of falls into that a little bit. The most interesting part to me was the third act. That third act is clearly that character, the doctor character, is a huge part of the next movie. So they don't really give you too much, but they just give you enough to make you want to watch that next movie. And to me, that just kind of sucks. This movie didn't do enough for me in the plot to make it stand on its own two legs. I think it's just it's okay. It has some great aspects that are interesting, but then a lot of them that just aren't that interesting and kind of feel like they're just slowly moving the plot along for something bigger. We'll see. I'll watch Bone Temple and we'll see if it's any good, but that's kind of my idea right now. I will say the boy's story arc, you're following this boy for the whole movie, not that interesting. Again, the third act is the best part to me, but the first two acts, okay. Really what carries any sort of entertainment is the world, the 28 years later aspect, the what is going on, explain to me what's happened in that, couple decades, explain to me what these zombies look like now. I really like what they did with some of the zombies. It's kind of odd, but different. It's unique. It's trying something different, and I like that. The idea of the alpha situation, how they interact. It's interesting. I like everything about the world, but the boy's story itself, which you are following, not that interesting to me. So probably my biggest gripe about the plot is that it just wasn't that interesting. There wasn't something pulling me back to this movie where I'm like, oh man, I love that story arc. I'm gonna watch that again. It's pretty generic. I just kind of enjoy the world that it takes place in. Finally, about my last kind of touchings on the plot, the ending, just so out of nowhere, like such a weird decision. Now, this franchise is kind of based on odd decisions, a little bit of different filmmaking. I don't mind that. I don't mind this kind of uniqueness. That's totally fine with me. Some people will absolutely love it. Some people will hate it. I think most of the time I kind of end up in the middle, kind of enjoy some parts of it, don't love other parts, but it's super valuable to have this unique perspective and a unique approach to, kind of further filmmaking. So I don't mind it, but you kind of have this tone throughout the whole movie that the very end of this movie is just totally different tone. And I mean, it kind of makes sense for maybe the little beginning blurb, but otherwise it's just so odd. And it's obviously a setup for the next movie. They just had to throw that in there because they're like, whoa, we'll wait for the next one. Here we go. We'll throw that little bit in there. But it's just such a different vibe than the whole movie. And to me, it just sucks when you have this whole movie and then the ending is just really, really odd and bad. That's what this movie does. It's like it has some decent things, but then the end is just god-awful. So I probably got a million other things, but we're gonna have to move on. Second is attraction. Does the movie have an interesting premise with a high entertainment value? Like I said earlier, it's unique. Whenever something's unique, you're gonna have a very diversified audience here. You're gonna have people who absolutely love it, people that absolutely hate it. I am closer to the hate it category. I definitely didn't love it. I didn't like a lot of the aspects of the filmmaking, but I can accept that it's unique. I can accept that and say, hey, that's a good thing. You gotta have unique pieces out there, furthers things along. So it's hard to say whether you're gonna like it or not. It's just you have to watch it to know whether you're going to like it. There are going to be people that love it, and there are going to be people that hate it. Third is theme. What message or truth is a movie trying to convey? This movie's tough, honestly. I had a hard time finding one. I try to find a message or theme in every movie. This one has some moral dilemmas in this movie. I don't know that there's kind of this overarching feeling that you're supposed to get or message that's being told, there are definitely little messages being told through the boys' actions throughout the film, and you're gonna find yourself liking them or disliking them. And I think maybe that's more of the message, is kind of touching upon these little moral decisions and whether you think they're right or not right. There's a conversation to be had on some of them, but honestly, there's not really this overarching theme. Fourth is dialogue. Is there a real feel to the conversations? I would say, yeah, it's pretty good. There's nothing to pick at here. There was no characters that had dialogue that just didn't make sense. It all kind of made sense, and I would say there's a lot of talking in this movie, and a lot of the conversations are interesting. They're talking about the world, and the world is by far the most compelling and interesting part of this movie. So there's a lot of interesting conversations. The dialogue is done pretty well. Fifth is acting. Are the characters convincing? Now, Alfie Williams, who plays Spike in this movie, our main protagonist, I call him a child actor. I don't know if there's a better word for that. He's not like a little kid, but obviously he's not an adult, so he's a child actor to me. He is our main character, and he's obviously going to get the most runtime. And honestly, there's a good chunk of this movie that he's kind of just alone in the scenes. He has a lot of scenes that are kind of to himself, and I would say that's a lot of pressure, not for a grown adult to have in making a movie. Having a lot of the focus on you, it's going to make or break that movie. It's only good if you're doing good. So I think he did a great job. I think my standards are obviously a little lower for people who aren't just fully grown adults, but he does a good job on honestly adult standards. Like, there are a lot of actors that are grown adults that I've seen in movies that are way worse than him. He does a pretty good job at conveying emotion and being this character that you want to somewhat root for. I mean, most of the things that I dislike about his character are more about the writing and the story that he's going on, and less about his acting. He does a solid job for having the responsibility of kind of carrying this movie. Now, that being said, Ralph Fiennes, who plays Dr. Kelson, he only really shows up in the third act of this movie, but he is by far the most memorable part of this movie. He's just a really good actor. There's a lot of scenes in movies. You'll watch a lot of movies, and he won't even do anything crazy. I mean, he doesn't have any scenes that necessarily push him in his acting that really just blow me away. It's just he's so good that even when he does the normal stuff, you're like, oh yeah, this is what talented people are. This is what great acting is. Even when something is pretty mundane and normal, he just captures your attention. And he does have, obviously the luxury of being, I would say, the most interesting character in the whole movie. The whole movie doesn't really have that interesting of characters. Like I said, it's really motivated and pulled along by the world. But then you get Dr. Kelson, and he's the mix of both. He has a very interesting part to play in this world by being a doctor. But then he himself, his character, is super interesting. And he does a great job with that character. And you just want to see more of him, which obviously I'm assuming we are going to see more of him in Bone Temple. But he just does a really good job here. 6 is cinematography. Is there a creative use of lighting, setting, and wardrobe to convey emotion? I'm kind of realizing how long this video is going to be, so I mean, if you've made it this far, I really appreciate it, but sometimes I just have a lot to say, especially with a movie like this. So the cinematography is by far, I would say, the best part of this movie. It's what makes it unique and interesting. As far as the entertainment value, like, this is not honestly providing that much. It's really riding on the cinematography. It is shot in kind of a different way. I mean, it's definitely been done before and was more popular in the past, but it's something that was, a unique character trait to 28 Days Later. That movie definitely does have a different feel to it. And this movie carries that along. It definitely has an interesting way that it is shot. Some people will hate it, and some people will love it. I personally enjoy it. I think it is somewhat interesting. It's unique and different, and I just take value in that. I like that. I think the zombie aspect is also interesting. I don't mind a plain regular zombie. They're popular for a reason. I like the runners. I think that's a really interesting concept. This type of zombie is kind of interesting. I like the idea of the alpha, like I said before. It's just different. I don't know if it necessarily makes a whole lot of sense, but I don't really care that much as long as I'm entertained. But they are definitely scary. These zombies, when there is a tense moment, they do feel dangerous. Even after 28 years, they feel dangerous. Whenever they are in danger and it feels tense, like you have this community that they never leave, and you kind of get that feeling of why when you do leave. You're like, yeah, I probably would never leave myself. Like, that would be terrifying and I will probably die, so I probably wouldn't leave. They did a good job of just conveying those emotions with the zombies. That being said, when they did have some chase scenes, it had this odd, I'm not necessarily familiar with it. I want to say it was kind of more popular in the early 2010s, but when they would shoot the zombies, it would kind of do this like slow motion stop, pull around. I heard complaints about it, but honestly, I liked it. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was kind of cool. Like, it gave some power to these shots. It felt like, I don't know, it kind of gave them some more importance, a little bit of, focus on them rather than just kind of boom, 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 they're dead. You kind of see each one as it's killed, and I thought it was kind of cool. I liked that part of it. There is a weird aspect to this movie to where it is shot and it's kind of blurry. I don't know how to say it. Like, it's not as sharp as you're used to when watching a movie. And I'm pretty sure that this movie, I don't know if the whole thing was shot or if only little parts of it were shot on an iPhone, to kind of give it that feeling that it had, that kind of blurriness. And sometimes it would, like, you would be looking at a character having a conversation and it's not necessarily focused on him. There's kind of, I don't know how to put it. It's a little blurry. It just doesn't, you can tell, like, your eyes immediately are like, this is odd. This is not how I've watched movies before. I did not like it. A lot of times I found it very distracting. I can recognize it as kind of being unique, but I just didn't love it. Especially on important things like conversations. There are different scenes where they're kind of shown, walking or whatever, and I think that would be okay for that. But then there's scenes where they're pretty important to focus on them and you're not focused on them. I thought it was a little odd and I didn't love that, but that's you kind of give and take with these kinds of movies. They did have these shots where they had, you had this soundtrack on the trailer. I'll get more into that later, but the scenes that accompanied it just didn't make any sense, and I thought they were so random and kind of stupid. I mean, the music, the soundtrack itself was interesting and I liked it and kind of had this creepy feeling to it, but then the shots that accompanied it just didn't make sense to the movie at all. They were just like these weird transitions. I don't know why they decided to put like this old movie footage of people like shooting arrows and stuff. Like, it kind of made sense a little bit in the beginning when they were showing them making like a bow and arrow and practicing, but then it just kind of kept going later on in the movie and it just didn't make any sense. I don't really know why they included it. Last part I'll talk about on the emotion side, they did a pretty good job with emotion throughout the entire film. But then this last act comes, and spoilers here, you're gonna have to skip the editing because I'm gonna talk about the end here. So his mother obviously ends up dying, and he has this bone temple, and it's obviously, it's made of a bunch of bones, and it's all these people that he's burned and cleaned and put up, right? So he's gonna do that to her. However, it's just so rushed. I mean, this is like a huge moment. He's literally, his whole motivation, this whole movie has been about his mother and his relationship with his mother, and she's obviously ill, and he's going through all of this danger to try to help her. So his motivation for existing and going through and growing up and becoming a man has been his mother. And then she's about to die, and they just handle it so odd. It's so rushed. She just dies, and then he burns her and cleans her, and then he gives the kid the skull, and he's just like kind of sad, and he's like, go put her where she needs to be, and he like climbs to the top. It's just like, what? I mean, his mom died that night, and he's kind of getting the skull in the morning. I would be absolutely devastated. Like, I know that this is kind of in a different world, but there's just like a lack of emotion at all. I mean, that's his mother. Like, again, carrying the plot. She's been carrying the plot for him. And he's just like, she's dead now and I've got to move on. It's like, what? It's not like he's been in this, it's not like he's lived in the heart of the apocalypse. Like, he's lived in a community. There's obviously kind of some normality going on, and that is not normal. Like, that is crazy. He just had no emotion to his literal mother's skull being in his hands. I would be so freaked out. It's not like they were just like running around touching dead bodies and are totally used to it in their little community. Like, they never left. You know, like, some people died, but they knew they were going out there to the danger. Like, most people were just, they kind of like developed, I imagine, normal relationships over decades. And I don't know. To me, it's just wild that they didn't include any sort of emotion and just kind of rushed it and were like, yep, she's dead. He moved on. He's alone now. And that's just it. Really odd. Yeah, that's my big gripe. Seventh is editing. This is all about the pace of the movie. The movie is 1 hour and 55 minutes long. Too long for my taste, just because it just was not that interesting. Yeah, they just tried to put too much. I didn't even touch upon in the plot about, they had this weird section where they have a zombie baby and he's like taking care of that zombie baby now. So odd. Like, there's so many weird avenues being, story parts being thrown in there. Like, I just thought they tried to do too much in that time. I wish they would have just cut down on the amount of things that they were trying to put into this movie and focused a little more on the world about this weird doctor dude. I wish they would have just condensed it a little better and made it more interesting. Eighth is soundtrack. I enjoyed it. You know, they had this weird kind of like, I don't even know what to call it, like a marching thing or what, I don't even know what to call it. It was odd, but I kind of liked that. It was interesting, it was creepy, it definitely set the tone for the movie really well. Like, you would take an average film, you don't even know, like, there's so many movies I've watched, I could not tell you a single song that was in the movie. I can tell you what was in this movie. Like, it is playing in my head right now. I just can't really express it that well. So it's unique enough that it stuck with me and definitely matched the tone of the movie. So I thought they did a good job with the soundtrack, making it memorable. Ninth is directing. Now I feel the directors in charge of the previous 8 aspects, they're the ones that have to put it all together, give it their stamp of approval, and make a really good movie. Now, the director of this movie is Danny Boyle, and this is his 14th film. The 14 total films that he has directed so far are Shallow Grave, Trainspotting, A Life Less Ordinary, The Beach, 28 Days Later, Millions, Sunshine, Slumdog Millionaire, 127 Hours, Trance, Steve Jobs, T2 Trainspotting, Yesterday, and finally 28 Years Later. I have not watched a lot of those movies. He's directed quite a few, but I have seen 28 Days Later, that even though it was a long time ago, and 127 Hours. Now, 127 Hours, I did not know he directed that. That makes so much more sense. There are cinematic aspects of that movie that I really enjoy, some interesting shots. And now that I know that he directed it, it makes so much more sense why, like, looking at those shots and then thinking about 28 Days Later or 28 Years Later, you're like, oh yeah, of course this was the same person. That makes so much sense. I like him, you know, I haven't watched a lot of his movies, but other ones I've watched, they just feel unique. They feel like a breath of fresh air. Like, hey, this is a totally different movie. You may hate it, you may like it, but I'm gonna film it the way I want to, and I think it's gonna be different. I like that. I happen to like some of the things he does. I think he takes too many, sometimes it's too different to the point where I don't know if he's necessarily the director that's going to make a movie that is just going to stand the test of time as a fantastic movie, but he definitely just has the talent to make a movie that you can watch and be like, hey, that was pretty good. You might hate it, or you might just say, hey, I'll totally watch that a couple times again. He definitely has a unique way to direct, and I don't know. It feels refreshing after watching just copy and paste of directors that are just absolutely terrible. It's nice to see somebody, you know, it's nice to watch a couple movies that just feel different. 10th is time. Will it stand the test of time? You know, with unique movies, like, somehow they usually do. Like, with some small audience, there's gonna be people that love the way that these movies are shot, or the different parts about them. So they're gonna, appreciate a lot of these movies within their franchise. I will say, it kind of does depend on Bone Temple. If Bone Temple is really good, then kind of this will ride off of that. Personally, I won't really remember it that much. I mean, I will remember it. It's unique enough that I will, somebody can mention it and I'll be like, yeah, I know that movie, and I can tell you a couple things about them. It will stick in my mind, but not necessarily because it's fantastic, but just because it's kind of interesting and has some unique parts to it. Now for the review section. Rotten Tomatoes critics gives it an 89. The audience gives it an 63. And IMDb gives it a 66. 89's way too high in this. Compared to every movie ever made, like an A is a really good movie. This is definitely not an A. It's not even close. 63, 66, I actually think that's a little low. Just because it's not the worst movie in the world. There are definitely way worse movies. This movie is probably going to end up in the 70s for me. Whether it's high or low, I don't know. It's probably somewhere in the middle, just because there are aspects of it that are redeeming, that are like, wow, this is interesting and cool and unique. But then there are aspects of it that are like, this is terrible. I don't know why you decided to do this. This story is not that interesting. So it probably just ends up somewhere in the middle, because it has some good things to say and some bad things. I'd probably, give it somewhere in like the 75 range. Finally, for the rankings. For the year of 2025, out of 25 total movies on the entertainment side, it is going to be 11th. Just below Ballerina and above Clown in a Cornfield. I'll be real with you. I want to keep these explanations kind of brief, because I doubt that many of you even got this far. And when I wrote these down and ranked them, it was like months ago. So I do not remember some of the reasoning on why I chose these to where they are, and most people don't even watch my videos to this point. So if you've watched to this point about a review on a movie that came out like a year ago, I appreciate you. You're a real one, honestly. Put down a comment, let me know that you got this far. I really appreciate it. That being said, below Ballerina is boring, okay? Plot was boring, but there was a lot of action. The choreography was great. Some interesting fight scenes. Definitely a movie I would go to watch before 28. Will I ever watch these again? Probably not. Probably not. But Ballerina, honestly, a little more entertaining. Kind of a little more shut your brain off and watch. That's why it's above. Now below, I've got it, below Ballerina. I've got it above Clown in a Cornfield. I don't really remember why. Clown in a Cornfield, not that bad, kind of like a comedy horror, just not my kind of deal though. I don't really love those all that much. I think that's probably why I put 28 years later here, is I just really enjoy some cinematic aspects, There's some parts of movies that I just like kind of the art more. I really enjoy when I can take, like a serious movie to me, I love a great serious movie. I love my comedies, but if we're gonna have a conversation, I want to talk about a serious movie, so that's probably why, because it has some unique aspects to it that I would enjoy having a conversation with somebody with, rather than Clown in a Cornfield, so I'd probably watch that first. Now, on the cinematic aspect, out of 25 total movies, it is going to be 11th, just below a Minecraft movie and above Final Destination Bloodlines. I can't believe I'm still talking about a Minecraft movie. I have it below a Minecraft movie. Kids movies aren't fair, okay? They're just harder to rank. I didn't expect that when I started this channel. They're so much harder to rank because they're made for children. So if I don't like it, it's probably because I'm a grown adult that really shouldn't be watching a Minecraft movie. But I am. So it's just never going to be at the bottom, because its expectations are always going to be somewhere in the middle. It's never going to be, it's made for kids. How can it be the worst movie ever? It's not made for you. But it also will never be at the top, because, I mean, it could be high. Like, I have a Wild Robot high, because it can do some really great things. But they're kind of like, they're kind of cheating in that way, because it can never be at the bottom. So that's why it's above 28 years later, is because it's just a kid's movie, and it's decent. It's okay. It's not great. It's not terrible. It has some interesting parts to it, but it's pretty creative. I like that about it, and it really, they did some fan treatment there. A lot of things for the fans in that movie, so I can appreciate that. But 28 Years Later, definitely more serious movie. I'm harsher on it. It has good aspects, but then the story is absolutely just so boring. It's a snooze fest, so don't really love it. I have it above Final Destination Bloodlines. I don't know. I don't remember why. Bloodlines is like better than I thought it was going to be, but this like the deaths weren't amazing. Like some of the CGI wasn't that great, but they did do a good job. They're fairly similar. That's why they're next to each other. 28 Years Later has some good aspects. So did Bloodlines, but they also fall short in some areas. I just think the world of 28 Years Later is more interesting, and as an art form, I think 28 Years Later stands out more. Has more unique. A unique idea, unique shots. It's just a little more interesting, not as kind of just bland or along the same lines as all of its other movies as Bloodlines. I guess. I don't really remember. For the decade of the 2020s, out of 61 total movies on the entertainment side, it is going to be 34th, just below Ballerina and above Clown in a Cornfield, for the same reasons as before. Cinematically, out of 61 total movies, it is going to be 32nd, just below a Minecraft movie and above Gladiator 2. Below Minecraft for the same reasons. Above Gladiator 2, that movie, I kind of give it more credit than maybe it necessarily needs. I mean, that movie just really rides off the original movie, but it does have good action. It does have some, the characters are kind of interesting, but they just rely so much on the previous movie. I'm just struggling to remember. 28 Years Later, definitely more unique. Doesn't necessarily ride on the previous movies. It has aspects, but it's a little different. 28 Years Later, the thing that just throws it down here, it has a lot of aspects I'd be like, 28 Years Later, that's so much better than Gladiator 2. But the problem is the plot, and that's a huge sin when it comes to making movies. If your plot is awful, if it's just not interesting, if it's boring, I'm not gonna watch any of it. Like, it might have cool shots, and it might have, great acting. But if the story is just absolutely boring, you're never going to get me to watch it. So that's probably why I kind of have it here. It's boring. Just like a Minecraft movie, just like Gladiator 2, it's boring. Yeah. All time, out of 75 total movies on the entertainment side, it's going to be 47th, just below Ballerina and above Clown in a Cornfield. Same reason as before. Cinematically, out of 75 total movies, it is going to be 43rd, just below Minecraft movie and above Gladiator 2. For the exact same reasons as before. Yeah, I'm kind of tired. I haven't made a YouTube video in months. I literally think like 4 months. And I've had to reshoot so many times in this video because no one realizes how hard it is to make a video. And be natural and not mess up. It's so hard. It's so difficult. I want to get back into making more reviews. I really love doing this. I've had less interaction, but I really enjoy it when you guys interact, so please comment if you want me to watch a video. I'm going to get back. I'm going to make a schedule where I'm watching more of, because I'm just so far behind. I'm like a year behind. I want to watch more of the suggested movies and get some past movies in here, not so much filled with today's stuff. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Life throws a million things my way, and I'm super busy, but I do enjoy this, and I do want to get back to it, so I really appreciate anybody who gets this far, watches any of it. I mean, seriously. That's super cool. Talk to me. Let's talk. Put it in the comments. I mean, I really enjoy it. It's just, that's why I'm making it. It's not for me. I mean, I kind of enjoy it, but I just I love all the times that I get comments and get to talk to people and people have opinion. I mean, I love reading when people talk about what they thought about the movie. Whether you agreed or disagreed with me, I love hearing what people have to say. So if you've gotten this far, please comment on any of my movies, what you loved or didn't love about it if you watched it. That's what I made it for. I'm trying not to be less serious, but keeping it structured makes it really easy for me to, come back to it and keep doing these videos. Yeah, that's it. Hopefully I'll put out another video here soon. Thanks for watching. I'm Mr. Majoritarian. Stay classy, San Diego.